The story ain't over just yet, guys. Mitch Trubisky, after everybody thought he was done in Chicago, he's going to be back starting this game against the Green Bay Packers on Sunday night for the Chicago Bears. Can he get a win to save our season? Watch this video to find out. What's up, guys? I'm back with another Chicago Bears weekly prediction video. This video is going to be a lot shorter than usual, so I apologize for that because I have family over for Thanksgiving and we're going to be doing a lot of other stuff, and you might hear like some extra noises in the background, so I apologize for all that, but I hope all of you are doing well on this Thanksgiving weekend and, you know, enjoying your time with family and friends, having fun with football and food and all. But today I'm here to give you guys my thoughts on the matchup between the Chicago Bears and the Green Bay Packers. Packers week is finally here in only 2 more days, probably only 1 more day. And when you guys are seeing this, we're going to be facing off against our most hated rivals, the guys that we cannot beat at all. Okay, I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. We suck against the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Rodgers has dominated our team. We're like 3-17 in the last 20 matchups. So it's literally going to take a miracle for the Chicago Bears to beat this team, especially considering the fact that we're going to have a starting quarterback play that has not started a game in over 2 months. Okay, Mitch Trubisky, after being off for 2 months, after being benched against the Atlanta Falcons in halftime, he's finally going to be returning on Sunday Night Football on primetime television against the Green Bay Packers. Talk about the most pressure-packed of circumstances to be thrown in against. Okay, he's going to be our last chance to save the season because currently the Bears are in the middle of a 4-game losing streak. We've lost 4 games in a row and our offense seems to be getting worse every single week. So at this point, Nagy had to make the move to put back Mitch Trubisky into the starting lineup because, being honest, guys, Mitch Trubisky did look a lot better. Maybe not a lot, but definitely did look better than Nick Foles has looked so far this season. I mean, Nick Foles' touchdown to interception ratio was terrible. It was like 10 touchdowns to 8 interceptions. He was missing all the throws that Trubisky missed as well, and then some, also turning the ball over. And the biggest part also was that he had no mobility behind such a bad offensive line that really cost us in the past few games, because at certain points in those games, a quarterback like Mitch Trubisky could have made plays with his legs, which is why Mitch Trubisky is going to be starting for us on Sunday night. And look, guys, if you believe in miracles, if you believe in crazy stuff like this happening, now would be a great time to pray for that miracle. Because if Mitch Trubisky can somehow turn his career around, starting with a win against the Green Bay Packers, like, you cannot write better storylines than that. So I'm sincerely praying for that to happen. Realistically speaking, it's most likely not going to. The chances are really small. This offense is already broken and pathetic as it is. The system is broken. Nagy does not know how to call plays in this league. So there's a lot of factors working against Mitch, and also Mitch in general. He's also not the most talented quarterback in the NFL by far. But if Mitch Trubisky can just somehow pull out a win starting this weekend, I mean, good stuff could happen. And also, it is the NFL. It's any given Sunday, so anything can happen in this league. So Money Mitch, number 10, I mean, I'm happy to wear his jersey again because at least he gives me some hope and excitement. Okay, with Nick Foles, it was just straight sadness, straight depression, because I knew what was going to happen. But with Mitch Trubisky, at least with his legs, with his mobility, it's going to be at least a more exciting brand of football. So I can't wait to see Mitch out there. I'm hoping for the best, hoping for a miracle. But let's talk about the Green Bay Packers, okay? So the Green Bay Packers this year, they're definitely a beatable team. I'm not going to say they're unstoppable this year because although they are 7-3, they've lost some pretty winnable games and they haven't beaten a starting quarterback since October 25th, okay, the Houston Texans. Since then, they've only been beating backup quarterbacks, and they have a lot of flaws on this team. Okay, that defense is a flaw. They have certain flaws also on the other side of the football, which are masked by the greatness of Aaron Rodgers. But that's the point, guys. Aaron Rodgers is so great. He's the best quarterback in the NFL right now. They have an elite offensive line too. They have a play caller that pretty much just lets Aaron Rodgers do whatever he wants to do, which is a good thing. Okay, you should let A-Rod do what he wants to do because he is the best quarterback in the game right now. So just because of the greatness of Aaron Rodgers, the most important position in all of football, they have a superstar right there. Because of that, they are 7-3. So make no mistake about it, guys. Even though this Packers team does have weaknesses, they're going to be ridiculously hard to beat because they have Aaron Rodgers and also other weapons as well, which I'll talk about right now. So let's take a look at the Packers offense, their stats. They're number 6 in the NFL in yards per game. They average 392 yards per game. They're number 3 in the NFL in points per game. They average 30.8 points per game. They're the number 7 passing offense and number 13 rushing offense, and they're also number 4 in the red zone. So when they do get down to the red zone, they score practically every single time. Again, because of Aaron Rodgers, okay? When you talk about this offense, the number one thing that makes this offense functions is still Aaron Rodgers. If I look at his stats right now, he's passed for 2,889 passing yards, 29 passing touchdowns, only 4 interceptions. The passer rating also of 115.8, okay? So he does not throw many bad balls. That's the thing, okay? When pressure is coming in his face, he gets rid of the ball pretty quickly, okay? When he tries to go down the field, he's really accurate with all those balls. He doesn't throw many bad balls at all, which is why he's dominating this year, okay? He has a 12.0 yards per completion so far this year, so he's getting a lot of big plays going down the field. He's not only relying on short and intermediate routes, he's actually going deep and completing all of those balls, which is a really hard thing to do. So props to Aaron Rodgers, but because of him, Davante Adams is having a historic year as well. In only 8 games he's played, he has 847 receiving yards and 10 touchdowns on top of his crazy route running abilities and everything, okay? He's one of the best receivers in the game. So stopping this guy, Davante Adams, it's going to be ridiculously hard for a defense. It's going to take all the scheming that Chuck Pagano has in the world. It's going to take an all-pro effort by Kyle Fuller and the other guys back there in the secondary. So Davante Adams, that's one guy obviously we do have to watch out for. If you look at Marcus Valdes-Scantling as well, okay, this dude is their number 2 option. He's been pretty hit or miss so far. He's been very inconsistent, okay? Last game against the Colts, he had a crucial fumble that made them lose the game, but they were also in that game because of MVS, because of the big plays he had in this game. So he's going to be a hit or miss guy. He could either go off in this game or not do anything at all. So that's another guy we have to watch out for. But besides MVS, I also have to talk about the running back duo, okay? Both Jamal Williams and Aaron Jones. Obviously, Aaron Jones is the featured back, but Jamal Williams also is getting a decent amount of carries. So combined, the two of them do have, I think, over 800 yards. I actually forgot to write that down, but I believe they have 800 yards. I'll put that on the screen right now, but they do have an effective running game regardless, okay? This Packers team can run the football pretty well on every down, and that's because their offensive line is so great. They have one of the best offensive lines in all of football. They have elite tackles, okay? Both Rick Wagner and David Bakhtiari. Obviously, you know, Bakhtiari is probably the best tackle in the NFL, and Rick Wagner is not that bad either. They also have the best center in the game in Corey Linsley, who's only allowed 2 pressures on this entire year. Those are ridiculous numbers, guys. And overall, this Packers offensive line, it makes it really hard for opposing defenses to get any pass rush going on this Packers team, okay? Aaron Rodgers doesn't take a whole lot of sacks, and he doesn't get a lot of pressure in his face, which is why he also has such a great passer rating, okay? So because of the O-line, because of the greatness of Aaron Rodgers, and also because of the weapons they have, this Packers offense is nearly unstoppable. But if I look at their defense, though, it is a totally different story, okay? On the defensive side of the football, the Packers are number 12 in yards per game allowed. They allow 344 yards per game. They're number 17 in points allowed per game. They allow 25.8 points per game. They're the number 14 pass defense, the number 13 run defense, but they're number 30 in the NFL in turnovers forced, okay? So this Packers team cannot turn the ball over at all on defense, which is really hurting them in certain games, because if you give a guy like A-Rod just a couple more possessions per game, this Packers team could be a lot more dangerous. They could be the best team in the NFL, but they are not, because their defense is just mediocre at the very best. It's actually been bad in a lot of games as well. If I look at their pass rush, they really only have Za'Darius Smith as their only consistent pass rusher, okay? He has 8 sacks on the year, a ton of pressures as well. He's been one of the best pass rushers in the game so far. But besides him, Preston Smith, Rashawn Gary, they've been pretty hit or miss. They haven't had consistently great games. They're not really helping this Packers pass rush do much of anything. They're number 18 in the NFL in sacks per game. And also, if I look at their secondary, it's not really the best secondary outside of Jair Alexander, okay? Jair Alexander is the one superstar they have back there in the secondary. He's only allowed a passer rating of 72 on the year. He's been probably the best coverage guy, one of the best coverage guys in this entire league so far. So he's going to be one guy the Bears will have to worry about. But besides him, you know, the rest of the secondary is not the best. Okay, obviously Adrian Amos at safety, who we all know too well. He's been having a pretty decent year, but he's had a few very big missed tackles. They have, you know, obviously youth in Josh Jackson, the other cornerbacks they have, but they really don't have too many superstars on this defense like they do on the offensive side of the football. I do have to talk about Kenny Clark, though. I mean, Kenny Clark is also having another great year, as he always does. So on the interior, that's going to be a place where the Packers defense could have some success. But if not, then the rest of this Packers defense is really not that scary in the slightest. But when you are playing the Chicago Bears offense, we make any defense look like the 85 Bears, like the 2000 Baltimore Ravens. We make any defense look like a superstar level defense because of how bad our offense is this year, okay? I'm not even going to read you guys all the stats on the offense because I would be wasting your time. Just know that we are 31st in the NFL, right in front of the Jets, or right behind the Jets, in practically every single offensive category, okay? Yards per play, offensive efficiency, red zone scoring percentage. We are practically the worst team in the NFL, right behind the Jets, okay? An 0-10 football team. We're right behind them on the offensive side of the football. The only reason why this team is 5-5, 500, and not like the Jets is because of how great our defense is. I mean, our offense is that bad. It's bad enough to make us also 0-10, but we're not because of our defense. So, I mean, there's really nothing much I can say about this offense. It's been historically bad, especially over the past 3 games. We only got 150 yards of offense against the Minnesota Vikings, one of the worst defenses in the entire NFL. So there's really nothing this Bears offense does that great. We don't have good offensive line play at all. We have probably bottom 5 offensive line play. We have a terrible play caller as well. We don't have really great quarterbacks, but we are making a change, and we're hoping Mitch Trubisky's mobility can somehow improve this offense. It's not going to all of a sudden save this offense because this offense is beyond saving at this point. It's one of the worst offenses I've ever seen. It's just so dysfunctional. But if Mitch Trubisky can do some of the things he did early on in the season, we could have a chance to win this game, and we could have a better offense because Mitch Trubisky through 2 games, he threw for 560 passing yards, not the most yards, but he had 6 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and a passer rating of 87. So really not the worst passer rating at all. He only had 1 really bad game against the Atlanta Falcons, and that was only really 1/2 of bad football. So overall, this offense, it really did not look the worst with Mitch Trubisky. We still weren't putting up a lot of points, obviously, which is why we made the move. But Nick Foles did not improve our offense in any way at all. He was missing all the throws that Mitch Trubisky missed, but he was also killing us with his lack of mobility. He could not escape the pocket at all. So we're hoping Mitch Trubisky can make our offense at least a little bit better, but it's still probably going to be a bad offense. If I look at the defense though, man, like I mentioned earlier, this Bears defense is a totally different story. It's a completely different team on the other side of the football. They're number 9 in the NFL in yards allowed per game. They allow 340 yards per game. They're number 6 in points per game allowed. They only allow 20.9 points per game. They're the number 10 pass defense and number 15 run defense. But most importantly, guys, they're number 1 in the red zone, number 1 in touchdowns allowed, and also number 1 on 3rd down. So when it comes time to really stopping teams when you need to stop them most, this defense has been able to do that consistently. I mean, they shut down some of the top offenses in the NFL over the past 3 games. We did a damn good job against the Tennessee Titans. We did a damn good job against the Minnesota Vikings. We also did a damn good job for the most part against the New Orleans Saints. But because of how bad our offense is, we did not win those games. And if you also look at how many snaps this defense is playing because of how bad our offense is, here's a stat for you, okay? Once every 3 games, the Bears defense is actually playing an extra game. That's how often they're on the field because our offense cannot put together any sustaining drives if their lives depended on it. So pretty much the only reason why our defense does struggle sometimes is because of how bad our offense truly is. There's really not that many weaknesses on this defense. Probably the only weakness I have right now is Buster Screen, okay? It's probably the weakest link on this defense playing at nickel. But besides him, we're set all across the board. The one thing, though, that I do have to point out is that Robert Quinn is not providing us with a lot on the stat sheet. Yeah, he is getting pressures, but pressures are not good enough for a guy we're paying this much money. So I need Robert Quinn to show up fast because so far, it's looking like that investment was a terrible investment in Robert Quinn because he's not doing much of anything. But besides him and Buster Screen, I can't speak of many other negatives on this defense. With all that said, let me quickly gloss over how the Bears can win this game. Like, what are the keys to the game? I'm not going to be doing my matchups because I don't have enough time to record all that, but quickly going over some of the keys to how the Bears can win. Probably one of the biggest keys is going to be to get that pass rush going on Aaron Rodgers. Okay, that includes both Khalil Mack and Robert Quinn, and also on the interior with Akeem Hicks. We need this big 3 to step up in a big way because the only game in which Aaron Rodgers looked terrible this entire year was against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when they got a lot of pressure on Aaron Rodgers. Okay, JPP and Ndamukong Suh, all those boys, they were wreaking havoc on that Green Bay Packers offensive line all day long, which is why Aaron Rodgers threw almost 2 pick sixes, okay? He had a terrible game that day. If the Bears can do something similar, put a lot of pressure on Aaron Rodgers, which I'm not the most hopeful for because so far Robert Quinn has not really shown up that much, but it's still possible. If we can do that, we could limit Aaron Rodgers to not doing much of anything. The second key of this game is going to be to get that play action game going with Mitch Trubisky, okay? In the first 2 games of the season with Mitch, we were actually number 6 in the NFL in yards gained from play action. That was clearly working in this offense. We got a lot of big plays going from play action because that throws the defense off ever so slightly. Even if you're not succeeding at running the football, it does historically work, okay? There's a lot of studies stating just that. So why not try out what's worked in this offense? Play action was probably the only thing that was really working consistently with Mitch Trubisky. And when you got a guy like Bill Lazor, who in his other playbooks with the Dolphins and with the Bengals, he used a lot of play action, it just makes a lot of sense to incorporate a lot of play action. When you also have a guy like Mitch Trubisky who is mobile, you can also do some play action rollouts, some bootlegs, stuff like that does take advantage of how mobile your quarterback is. So hopefully we do that on offense. But my last key is probably going to be to get contributions from the special teams and from turnovers, okay? Because I really think that's the only way in which we can actually win this game. I don't expect our offense to come out there firing because just realistically speaking, that's not going to happen after everything I've seen so far this year. But if we can get some turnovers on defense, give our offense a few more possessions during this game, and also get some help from the special teams, maybe, a special team fumble forced, or maybe another touchdown from Cordarrelle Patterson, maybe just some good field position from Cordarrelle, who currently leads the NFL in yards per return with 30. That could honestly help us out a lot because it almost worked against the Minnesota Vikings. Our offense only provided us with 150 yards total in that game, but we were in that game because of special teams and turnovers forced on defense. And finally, it is time for my score prediction for this game. What do I think is going to happen? Who do I think is going to win? And guys, everything in my brain is telling me that the Packers are the better team by far, okay? They're a 7-3 football team. They have the much better offense. They have the much better quarterback. I mean, it's not even close how much of an upgrade they have at quarterback. And just looking at how good this team has been against us, especially on primetime with the pissed off Aaron Rodgers, there's every reason to believe we should lose this game. But because this is the NFL, because crazy stuff does happen, because the Bears do have a ferocious defense that could limit Aaron Rodgers, I'm actually going to pick the Bears to win this game by a score of 21-20. It's probably my most controversial pick of the year because there's next to no chance of this actually happening. But I have to say, guys, every couple of years, the Bears beat the Packers in a game in which they are not supposed to win at all. Okay, guys, remember the Thanksgiving game with Jay Cutler on Brett Favre retirement night? We somehow won that game even though we were heavy underdogs. Even before that in 2013 with Josh McCown with the backup quarterback, we somehow beat the Green Bay Packers even though we were heavy underdogs. So sometimes, once every couple years, this Bears team does get an unexpected win against the Green Bay Packers. And I think, a small part of me does think that that could happen this Sunday night. Again, I have to reiterate that the Bears should not win this game. The Packers should most definitely win this game. But crazy stuff does happen any given Sunday. I mean, I'm probably the only guy picking the Bears to win this. Most likely the Packers are going to win it. But the Bears defense has been really good against Aaron Rodgers the past 2 years. They've only allowed like one really great quarter of football from A-Rod, which was the 2018 comeback win. But besides that, they have been solid every single game. So I have every reason to believe they can also limit A-Rod in this game. The only thing I'm worried about is if our offense can move the ball. And with Mitch Trubisky mobility, why not? Okay, maybe they can move the ball at least a little bit better than they did with Nick Foles. I'm not expecting a great day from Mitch at all. He's probably only going to be passing for like around 200 yards. But with his legs, if he can pick up a couple more first downs, keep some plays alive, who's to say we cannot score 3 touchdowns? Okay, maybe not 3 from the offense, but at least 2 from the offense, hopefully, and maybe 1 from the defense or special teams. Or I'm just trying to think of scenarios in which the Bears can actually win this, but that would be one of those scenarios. So not likely at all, but I do have the Bears winning this game. My offensive MVP for this game is going to be Anthony Miller, another pick that's probably going to be very controversial. But Anthony Miller did have a good game against the Packers last year in Week 15. He had 118 yards and 1 touchdown. And I just think that, Allen Robinson, he's going to be going up against Jair Alexander. And Jair is probably going to do a decent job on Robinson. So A-Rob is probably not going to be such a big factor. But I think Anthony Miller he definitely can be because they don't have other great cornerbacks on this team. So if he can actually catch the ball and not be making all these silly mistakes he usually makes, he could have a decent stat line in this game. My defensive MVP of this game is going to be Eddie Jackson for the Chicago Bears, okay? Because I think that Eddie Jackson, you know, he's going to get a decent amount of opportunities to pick a ball off because Aaron Rodgers does throw the ball deep down the field. I mean, he might target Eddie Jackson throughout this game because he likes throwing balls that go more than 20 yards down the field. But the thing is, though, is that he's been really accurate with those balls. But if our pass rush can do a decent job on these tackles and get to Aaron Rodgers, like, who's to say that he's not going to throw at least a couple bad throws in this game, which one of them, hopefully, Eddie Jackson could come down with. So I have Eddie Jackson being defensive MVP for this game because I have him getting 1 interception. So yeah, guys, that pretty much wraps up my video. It's going to take a miracle to beat this Green Bay Packers team, but a small part of me does think it's possible because of a quarterback change and also because crazy stuff does happen in this league. So it's not very likely at all. It's most likely not going to happen, but I do have the Bears winning against the Green Bay Packers because of all the stuff I said in this video. So let me know what you guys think about this down below in the comments. A big shout out to all my YouTube channel members, all my Hall of Fame members. So Kristen Megan, Wyatt Freiberger, Keith Luckett, Stacks, Michael Horwitz, ACG, and Scotty McLean. Appreciate all of you guys so much. And if you want to become a member, there's a link down below in the description, which you can click to join and get some extra benefits. But I am really nervous for this game. This is a must win for the Chicago Bears if they want to save their season. And I'm just hoping that Mitch Trubisky somehow, number 10, can show up and shut up a lot of haters. Let's hope that happens. Let's pray that happens. But as always, guys, bear down.